All right, welcome to another edition of Slightly More Podcast. I am one of your hosts, just one of the two hosts.
Why'd you look at your phone, man?
Because I need to make sure the sound was off. I am Shane Colorelli, and this here is
Chris Cruz.
Chris Cruz. Actually, that could work.
Yeah.
That actually sounds.
Tell him do your Tony Vazzelli.
Tony Vazzelli, kids magician.
Guys-
These little brats. I love kids. And by love, I mean hate. I hate those kids, those little bastards. I seriously could have come up with an alter ego that is Tony Vazzelli, kids extraordinaire.
It would have just been my grandfather.
Yeah, that's true.
We're on a call with my grandfather. Hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing this. We're on the phone call with my grandfather and my
Scoot over
grandmother.
this for a little bit.
And he's just my grandma's like, the TV's too loud.
Yeah.
And he's like,
get it out of my face. Get it out of my face right now. So yeah, these you can see we've got a different backdrop than normal. Chris tell them where. Well, first I'll say where we are. We are in Margot's photography studio, a friend of mine, and she's got a huge space here that she has graciously let us use
so thankful.
During this downtime, and we've set up Chris's full show in here. If we got the video lights on these things, I've never realized how bright both of these are at the same time.
I'm always in these lights.
Oh my God, dude!
I was looking at these lights when I blink permanently, I see two rings.
Oh my God, they're so bright.
So one of the things that was really awesome about this is, so let's kick off the topic and mention that this is all about virtual magic shows.
Yes.
It's a huge thing right now. I did not want to get on the bandwagon. I didn't want to do it. I was like, I'm never doing those. Somebody said, here's a check. I said, I'm doing those. And
yeah, I was curious how they would work too, because the ones that we've seen so far are not the best.
And you know what? That's okay, because really some of the charm of it is that you're in a living room, you're in your home environment, it's cozy, it feels impromptu. But me and Shane said, there's an opportunity here to use video lights, to use a professional camera and patch it into Zoom, which we can actually kind of cover that, because I think a lot of guys don't know. To have a mixing board that plays the sound directly through Zoom. We want it to feel so professional. Like this was put on by people who only do virtual shows. Like we wanted to have that feel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was a success for today, but we're going to dive into it. So we'll talk about some tips for virtual shows, some things that went well, some things we learned today that I did not expect to learn.
Yeah.
And there's so much to go into. I don't even know really where you want to start on this. Maybe just covering the idea of virtual shows as a whole. Maybe some people don't even know where to start with that.
Yeah. So, virtual shows, there's a few different ways you can go about it. A lot of people right now, entertainers, speakers, are doing virtual shows through Zoom. You all right?
Yeah, I just want to.
Oh, okay. Or doing it through Zoom, which is kind of the easiest. That way they're able to see everybody that is on the screen with them. So it almost feels like there's an audience there. Of course, there's obviously Facebook Live. There is YouTube Live. Then there's a couple of different softwares that you can do to run through that. OBS, B as in boy, OBS
Which
Studio.
stands for Open Broadcast Studio.
Open Broadcast Studios, free software that you can download on Windows or Mac, and then that'll let you. So basically, you open up OBS, and then that'll let you run through OBS to one of the live streaming platforms. The good thing about that is, when you're on Facebook or Zoom or YouTube, you're not able to put extra things on the screen. So you're not able to put like pictures or another video, or if you're running two cameras, you're not able to switch. It's literally just on YouTube or Facebook or Zoom. Normally, you have what's on the screen is what you see, but OBS gives you the opportunity to really, look into it. It's really great. You're able to put a lot of different things on there and transition.
Yeah, and it's not the most super friendly software.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
But you can pick it up fast. One of the things that I thought was really cool about it, I just looked up a few YouTube videos on how to use it. We actually didn't even need to use it for this show.
No, we didn't. I just wanted to mention it just so you guys, if you wanted to do that, you can.
Yeah,
like really what we could have done is if we're running into if the client that you sell the show to does not care if people are actually on the screen with you, If you're going to be using Zoom, I would not recommend that you use OBS
Yeah, I think
because
so.
it's completely different. But if you're going to use Facebook Live or YouTube Live, OBS is really great because you're able to play like a promo video before the show starts, and then you're able, once the show ends, and you can put up a screen that has all your contact info on it at the end of the show. But yeah, for Zoom, which is the majority of what these are on, probably not a good
And
idea to
and don't
use
click away, by
OBS.
the way, if you think that it's all going to be technical. We're going to go into the magic
Right, right,
too. We
right.
will go
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
magic, but I do want to spend some time on the basics because you can't perform the magic if you don't have the video or the audio. OBS, one of the other things that's great is it allows you to adjust, your camera, your sound, your audio, all that stuff, all in one place. Instead of, for me, like for this show, I had to do it in, some of my system settings and
Right.
some Zoom settings, and then my game capture card settings.
Yeah.
OBS would have put it all in one place. I just knew how to work those other things, so that's why I did that.
Yeah. So I want to get into first start off with who are you selling these shows to? So most people out there, magicians, they're probably thinking like, oh, okay, I can sell it to just a general audience of birthdays if we're doing birthdays. But tell them about the show that you just did, and because I think that's an interesting angle
Yeah,
for,
definitely.
and then reaching out to old clients, that sort of thing.
So let's start by saying this. One, the birthday market is always there. And as a parent, for you guys who are parents, I'm sure you can feel that it's crushing to have to cancel somebody's birthday party. My little brother's birthday is tomorrow, and I'm not even the one responsible for planning his birthday, and I feel bad. I'm like, I can't believe he can't do anything. For a young kid, they get so excited about that, which, he's turning 12. I don't think he cares too much at this point, but I'm sure he would have been happy with a party.
Yeah.
So those are always going to be there, but there are tons of businesses that aren't shut down. Libraries are still open. Think this specific show is for a financial advisor. They all have clients that right now they're not speaking to or seeing or meeting with, and they have to stay top of mind. For financial advisors, which are probably being utilized a lot right now because people are readjusting finances and looking for what's next and what should they do with their savings and where to invest. I think that's a really popular place for you guys to invest your time into asking them if they can do shows. What's really cool about this is he approached me with the idea, so I didn't have to sell him at all. He knew this is what he wanted to do. And so, you really have to ask people to open up their creativity and explain what's going to happen for them.
Yeah.
But, with, like I mentioned, you have libraries. You also have, I'm trying to think of other places that'd be open that would be willing to, like any essential business. Like I know Amazon is crushing it right now, right? They've got so much, Instacart, Grubhub, all these companies, they still have to keep employees and clients happy. So the more creative you can be with who you're pitching it to, the better. Just find any business that's open or anybody, usually entrepreneurs who are still serving subsets of their clients. Those are people you want to reach out to.
Yeah, but interesting thing for the financial advisor. So basically, he covered the cost of the video,
Yep,
and then he invited and offered it the link for the Zoom call for free. So in his circumstance, it was he wanted to just provide entertainment
and
for his
capture.
clients. But right, so I'm going to get into that. Right, so he just wanted to provide entertainment for his clients first and foremost. And so when you are Mr. Magician, Miss Magician that are watching this, or entertainer of some sort, when you are reaching out to old clients to say, hey, listen, I'm sure you've got employees that are home. You've got clients that you can't talk to right now. You need to stay top of mind with them. So this is a great way to say, here's some value that I'm giving you during this downtime and this time of a lot of sadness. I just want you guys to have fun. So here's a great video for that. Obviously, the flip side is what Chris just said, which is for them, it is a great lead capture system because they're able to then, they have to get the invites, at least the guy that just did the show with Chris, you have to get the invites from people. So therefore you need their email and their contact information. So then after the show is over, what is happening is this financial advisor is sending out an email that not only has his contact information in it, obviously if it's coming from him, but it also has Chris's contact information in it. So then he sends out an email afterwards that says, hey, once again, we really appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Here's a magic you learn at home, another cool idea.
Right. So Chris has a video. This is something for you to think about too. Chris has a couple of videos of just simple magic tricks that you can learn at home that he sends out. Another value proposition, a good thing that you can tell the clients that you're reaching out to or potential clients, if they want to use it for lead generation, is this should not be a sales technique. There should be no sales
Right.
mentioned in the conversation from beginning to end of doing this. You can tell them, hey, listen, you reach out to your potential leads and say, listen, I just want to provide a show for you, provide some entertainment during this crazy time. Really, thank you so much. And then the follow-up email, once again, no sales. It's the follow-up email says, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. Here's Chris's information. Obviously, put in your information, even though Chris, I'm sure, would be happy if you put in his information in your email.
What's cool too that I want to mention is a lot of people are weird to mention that they're paying for things, but I did not shy away from that when I was promoting the show. I said, hey guys, here is a free show paid for by, and then I put the client's name. I said, he paid for it so you guys can come for free. It's weird when you offer a free show on Facebook, people think like, oh, it's a 3 p.m. on a Friday for this guy and he's just killing time. No,
Right.
If you say this is a set show that we have invested money into and you don't have to pay for, that's really awesome. So if you have a client who pays for it and sponsors it, don't be afraid to say that they put costs down, because right now there's so much free content and you want to stand out.
Right.
And
that provides credibility not only for you, but for your client as well. It makes them look good in front of all those people, which is something your client is going to enjoy.
And you'll have a lot more people tuning in. Not only will people feel that it's more valuable, but people will be more likely to visit your thing than somebody else's. Like if I'm getting to experience something for free that was paid for by somebody else, I'm more likely to watch that video than I am to just look through Facebook for free content.
Right.
The other thing that I think is really interesting is, and I almost want to, and maybe when you watch this would have happened, I almost want to open the podcast with this little excerpt here, which is that there are people who think virtual shows are not booking. They're scarce. I personally, and Shane and I were sharing stories of magicians we see on Facebook that are crushing it. Like
crushing it.
Keynotes, college tours, virtual. I know a magician in New York. He booked 15 virtual shows in the next 2 weeks. And he's charging a premium for them, almost as much as most guys would charge. Actually, more than most guys would even charge for a regular birthday party. Yeah,
I know a hypnotist right now that has a keynote centered around hypnosis, and he has booked 8 colleges to give his virtual keynote to. So there's people out there that are doing it.
Think universities, right? And don't say, hey, I'm offering this as entertainment. You can do that, and there's definitely clients for that. But if you can incorporate a message or something, like say, hey, your students are at home, they haven't heard from you. Normally, when they're attending classes online or have classes they need to do, part of what you're doing for student mental health to allow them to focus on academics is providing programs for them.
Yeah.
By providing any online programs, since you're expecting them to attend class online.
Right.
And they'll go, holy crap, we're not, and we need to.
Right. So let's,
sorry, totally cutting you off. I used to work for a university planning programs, and that's the way we think. We think X amount of academics and student mental health, X amount of programs. Right now, it's all academics, no programs.
Right. So now that we talked about basically how you can sell the show, let's talk about the setup that we have, and then we'll get into some details about the show itself and the things that you can do.
So there's a lot that I wouldn't have even thought when writing a show to perform virtual. There's some stuff that happened that I couldn't predict.
Right. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to kick off by saying that one thing we see with magicians, like I've not seen a magician not do this. They're performing with their webcam. Even if you have a high quality webcam and you're performing your show, it's still not going to look as professional.
Yeah, and you're performing in like your bedroom or your office. I mean, look, do what you have to do, obviously.
Right.
Like if that's your only setup, then great. Here's one thing to think about that though. Think about what your background is, because if you have a really busy background or things back there that are very distracting or that you might not want to have seen on camera, think about that. Even if you could take a sheet, like a solid color sheet, and just hang that up in the background behind you, that's better than having a lot of things that are really distracting, because the focus really should be on you. So if that's what, we're not saying that if that's all you have, then don't sell these shows. Like we literally have seen magicians do this. They set up their laptop, they literally sit at the desk in front of their laptop and that's how they do the
Yeah.
call, like in their office. So
Let's go into like Maximum Entertainment, a book a lot of people read, and a lot of these principles magicians practice: being the best dressed person in the room, right?
Right.
Looking professional and acting professional, sounding good. For some reason, how has this all gone out the
Excuse me.
window? How are there guy in cargo shorts performing in their bedroom with crappy camera quality and poor audio? Like, let's back up. Part of looking the best now is having the best quality. When everyone in that on that call is 480p, 720p, if they have a good camera, and you're in high def, you stand out, you pop. When there are all those grids, for instance, for me on Zoom call, there's all those grids, all those pictures of people, your eye can't help but get drawn into mine because it's the highest quality one. It's the brightest. It looks the best. And that says, hey, this guy's the guy we need to be paying attention to.
Right.
Also with the audio, we'll talk about how you can get a high quality camera to be patched in a second. With the audio, something I was trying to do is play music in the same room I'm in and hoping my microphone would pick it up. That is just from a magician buddy of mine, Zach Alexander, was like, do not be that guy. And if that's all you have, that's great. But, for those of you who have a mixing board, or you can probably download software on your computer, there's ways you can patch music and microphones directly into your computer. So even if you're not the most tech savvy, I think now's the time to learn.
Yeah. So if you guys are out there full-time performing, you should have all of the sound equipment anyways.
Hope so.
So yeah, it's real. So since we're talking about that, I mean, let's literally go into it. So you set up your sound equipment like you normally do. Like Chris has a mixing board here in front.
Right here in front of the camera.
Yeah.
This whole thing,
You're going to have to come back.
hooked into my computer. Like everything that you see here. Plus, I mean, a couple other boxes that are hanging on wires down here that you can't see. But I mean, there's a lot hooked in my computer, and it was intimidating. But
yeah, so you set it up like he normally sets it up. I mean, the wireless microphones go in there, the Bluetooth device that plays the music from his phone app goes in there, and literally the only hookup from that mixer to the laptop is an auxiliary out from the mixer and into the mic input in the computer, and that is it. The only thing that you might have to check when you turn on your computer is that you make sure to set that microphone input as a mic.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the audio will not pick up on the computer itself.
Listen, we know that's a lot of jargon for those of you who don't know. All we're saying is make sure whatever board you're using to mix everything, which, by the way, your speakers sometimes have inputs and outputs. You can try to find a way to output your speaker in your computer. Not really sure on that, but totally possible.
Right. So all yours is it's an RCA.
Hold it up.
Yeah, just undo it.
So my mixing board has two little female ends for these.
Yeah, they're RCA cords.
Yep, the white and the red, just the audio parts. My laptop, it's still plugged in my laptop.
It's just a 3.5 millimeter, just like a mic input.
Yep.
Headphone jack. Yeah, that's it.
Yep, that's it.
That's
so
it.
This ran all the sounds from my crazy mixing board into my computer. Dead simple.
Yeah, so that gives the great sound that literally sounds like it's coming directly from inside the computer, which it is, but it's still coming from out here too. The other thing to note too is on Zoom, we were curious about if you're able to hear if Chris is able to hear the music. The music does actually come out on Zoom very low.
I don't know if that's the case for everybody. I just know that's the case for me. So with sound input, I mean, it's incredibly important that you sound good. We had some issues with cutting out, so we cut those parts of the show. We had to adjust the music volume. We want to make sure we sounded the best because we don't want this to feel like an afterthought. We don't want people to log into a virtual show like, I guess this is what we have to do. We want people to log into a virtual show because it's of the quality of anything else I could be doing right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So let's get into I'll get into the cameras and lights.
Let me mention a capture card because we should start there. A lot of people don't know how you can get a high quality DSLR to stream out of your computer. I had to look this up and learn. Right.
So, but it starts with a camera. So you need a camera that allows you to do this.
Yeah. And here's the thing too. I put a lot of thought into this. If you don't have a Shane, if you don't have a videographer or you don't have a DSLR camera, one, you should probably have one. I really need to get my own, but
you can buy them for really cheap right now. I'm going to give you an exact one to buy. You can go out and buy, I think you can buy the Panasonic G7 You could probably get it for like $500 right now. I know that might sound like a lot, but it's really not a lot. Like you should be having a high quality camera that records you at every single show anyways, so that you can use that for your own footage. Like that is something that I would invest in as a business, as a performer for your business. That'd be one of the first things that I would invest
And what
in.
else is cool about that is, let's say now you have this DSLR camera, you're at home, you have an idea, boom, you record, and now you have a podcast you post on YouTube. Like $500 to have your own podcast.
Exactly.
Like, come on. So the camera, you can get one for cheap, like Shane saying.
Here's the key, though: it needs to have an HDMI input.
Of course.
Or it needs to have, and it doesn't matter if it's a mini HDMI or a regular HDMI,
or a
like
micro, because those are different. Mini and micro are different.
Micro, yeah, I meant micro. So
well, they have a mini one also.
Right, it doesn't matter, because even if you have a regular HDMI cord, they still make adapters that go from regular HDMI cord to mini or micro, right? But that is the key in order to do this setup for the lives, is it has to have an HDMI input on your camera.
One thing I'll say too is, if you don't have a camera, you don't want to buy a camera, there's a lot of videographers who are out of work right now. Now, again, safety might be an issue either for you or for them, but I promise you can get a videographer to film something, I would imagine, for relatively cheap, because I mean, they want work, right? Don't, do what's fair for them. But
yeah. Also, if you're around colleges, colleges are out right now. The students can't go. Most colleges have a film, like a film major. So look it up, post it on Craigslist, or I still say Craigslist, but
I still use Craigslist. So.
Yeah. So, or Facebook Marketplace, that you're looking for maybe a film student, because they do have the cameras because they need them for school. So,
and the benefit of having somebody who's running it is Shane was able to, and we'll get into this in a second, Shane was able to zoom in on close-up tricks. He was able to move the camera for me, adjust it. So it was almost like watching a TV show where everything's following where it needs to follow. It was really cool.
Yeah.
So I would say, even if you have a camera, it might be worth having, your wife, your kid, your brother, a film student run it anyway. It's just, come on now. With a webcam, you can't do that. That's another reason to have a camera.
Yeah.
Now, a camera, how does that connect to my computer? Well, I went out and I got this thing called a capture card. Now, actually, the more I think about it, I'm wondering if I could have just run HDMI from your camera into my laptop.
That actually probably would work.
Don't take your word on that.
No, I don't think that actually will work, because, and this is something that we're seriously just getting into ourselves, because we never had to because of this. I think the issue with running the HDMI, and if y'all are watching this and know the answer to this, but I think the issue with running HDMI from the camera directly into the computer is it doesn't pick up the audio.
Oh.
So that is the big issue.
Well, no,
I'm pretty
HDMI
sure I've come across that.
Audio and video.
I know, but I'm almost 100% certain that I read that that's the issue. That's why you have to have the capture card to capture the video and the audio coming into the computer and out of the camera, right?
Although, here's what I'm going to say. I didn't use the camera audio, so I used an external mic. It's plugged into my soundboard.
Right. So I still don't think it captures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know specifically for Zoom, in order for it to register, you're going to need to get a capture card. It's a little box. They're expensive, $200. We did find a cheap one for $150.
Yeah.
It's expensive. I don't even know if you need it, but we use it perfect. You plug an HDMI into it, you plug an HDMI into it the other side. It goes through the box and into your computer. And what it does is it just regulates the sound, the visuals, allows you to go on Zoom and stream at 1080p or higher. Right. And trust me, it was well worth for me the money that I spent on it.
Yeah.
So, we talk about lighting, because that's...
Oh, well, in a second. I've got one more thing about video. This is the last thing. If you happen to have a Sony camera, the A6000, 6300, 6400, which I have is 6400, we're shooting on an NX80. That is a very high-end camera. They're like $3,000. But obviously, if you're just starting out, don't get that. But any Sony camera in the 6000 line, plus the high-end ones like this NX80, they actually have an upgrade, a firmware upgrade that just came out a couple months ago that allows you to stream wirelessly without the need for a capture card. Here's the caveat to that. You can only do that on Facebook or YouTube. It does not allow you to do that to Zoom. That's why we weren't able to do it in this circumstance. If they figure that out eventually. They'll probably be able to figure out eventually. But for now, if you have a Sony, you can pick up a Sony A6400 for probably $500 or $600 right now.
When he said 6000 series, he didn't.
The 6000.
He meant.
Yeah, the series number. Yeah. All right. So the lighting that we have in here, I use professional video lights that I use on all my shoots. Here's the thing, though. These things are, I mean, they are blinding. Um, they come. I bought them in a set off Amazon. I think they were like $300 for the two of them.
You don't need that. You can get them from. You can get video lights. They're not going to be the best quality, and the stands won't be good for like $150 for a set. But I would say that's better than nothing.
Yeah, you can buy video lights off Amazon. You could buy what's called a 3-light kit with what's called a softbox, which softens the light. That you can probably see now, the light that's hitting us is pretty harsh. It's pretty hard. Like you can see that there's a shadow.
It's like I'm
there.
looking into the sun.
It's so bright. But we needed that for the show because we need a bright light on this big area. It might not look that big, but it's this is a really big room. The ceilings are really high, so that's the lighting I have. If you don't have that, here is a hack for that. That's super cheap. You can go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you buy the shop lights that fluorescent lights that come in these. They have like a silver, what looks like a plate behind the light. And then, just has a regular cord that you can plug in. You do that and you put it that way off of you because they aren't that bright. So at the very least, you do need at least one light that's on you.
Home Depot and those are open. They're essential business.
Yeah, and they're open.
So you can get shop lights.
And those things are like $20, $30. I would at least buy one of those and get you like, a 60-watt bulb, 100-watt bulb.
You can
even
clip them onto things too, which is great.
Yeah. Here's another hack. If you get bulbs that are LED, so they don't actually give off any heat, then you can take because the light is still going to be kind of harsh, and you have to put it. I'm sorry if it's getting super technical, but I think this will really help you guys out. If you buy one of the shop lights, if you buy fluorescent lights, then there's an actual like heat, like touch heat that comes off of it. If you buy LED lights, then what's good about that is now you're able to take a thin white sheet and drape it over the light, and that'll soften the light on you, and it won't burn the sheet, which is
I've also seen people
very
take
important.
a white T-shirt and flip it inside out and like put it over it. Like
Yeah, but make sure it's LED. Make sure it's an LED light. The good thing about that too, or catch your sheet on fire. The good thing about that too is you can buy a higher power LED light because it's not going to have the actual physical heat that comes off of it. So that's it for that.
So the technical stuff, and I think probably in the beginning of this, I keep saying this is my reminder to Shane to edit this. I think it'd be awesome for the people who don't care for the technical stuff, which you at this point should go back and listen to it if you haven't, because you got to look good to have a good show. I wanted to put a marker in there that talks about skipping to the actual show stuff, like the magic. And
I'll put that on the YouTube description.
Yeah, so that's what we'll do. And actually, if you can have a pop-up or like even in the beginning, edit a screen that says skip to blah, blah, blah for discussion about the show. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that'd be perfect. So before we get to the actual magic itself, it's really important to talk about setting rules for the show and how you can get the most out of, we're going to talk about Zoom specifically, having a host on there.
Yeah.
So just like when you do a show and you ask people to sit quietly, not have side conversation, you want them to sit flat in their chair, turn their cell phones off. That's not going to happen on Zoom. Okay. Like you could enforce that, but it seems kind of silly because they're at home in the comfort, they could turn their camera off, they could turn their mic off. So it's not as big of a deal. It's not as much of a distraction, especially because the speaker will usually pop up on Zoom. What I think would be super important is to have the host be able to mute and unmute. And also when you market the show or you announce the show, let people know to be camera ready. Yeah. One of the things we saw, in my head, I imagined everyone having their camera on, and we only had maybe 5 or 6 people with their camera on out of the 20, 25 people that were there. You want to let people know ahead of time because some people are embarrassed or they don't want to see people while they're wearing their PJs, so make sure you let them know to be camera ready. Let them know that they can participate in the show, be volunteers, but you need to be able to see them so you can look them in the eye and interact with them. I want this to feel as real of a magic show as possible. I made that announcement at the beginning of my show, but it was such short notice. Yeah. I think if you gave people a 5-minute warning, hey, I'm going to give you 5 minutes for you guys to get camera ready, make sure that you guys can turn your camera on so I can see everybody. We'll start as soon as we got everybody with their camera on. Something like that. Yeah. The host, I didn't do this because I don't want to be running Zoom calls while performing magic, while thinking about where I'm standing, too much for me. So Gafar, who was my client, he had the he had the ability to host the call so he can mute people, unmute people. Now, what I would have preferred him to do is unmute everybody when I needed the interactions.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really important is you should hold a Zoom call with the host before the show and go over, here's what I need, okay? If it's your first virtual show, you're not going to know really what you need. But
Right.
take it from my experience. Ask him if he can mention to people to teach them how to mute and unmute themselves so people can interact. Because not everybody knows how. Nobody's used Zoom before in some cases. So
Yeah.
how to mute and unmute themselves and how to show their camera and not show their camera. Also, I would show them where the text box is. So those 3 things, muting, camera, text box. Because for the people who don't want to use their microphone, typing is so fun for them.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, in my show, we had to summon the mystery hand by having everybody type mystery hand in the chat box.
Yeah.
Hey, does the mystery hand look familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's super important there just to make sure that you have somebody who's running the Zoom call. You can do it yourself. I'm not a Zoom expert, and it's easier for me to say, hey, Gafar, can you go ahead and unmute everyone versus me doing it myself, okay? So setting the expectations for people, telling them they're going to participate, telling them to have their camera on, just like in a show where you say, hey, I'm going to need volunteers, introduce the idea of clapping early on. All the same showman stuff should continue. You don't want to feel like you're performing for a dead room. Remember, there's latency too, so that kind of plays into it.
It's not a whole lot of latency, but there is a little bit. The other thing too for that is what we figured out is if you are using an external camera to film, make sure you're getting the laptop up as close to the lens as possible.
Let me show you something. This is what was happening. I'm right here. I'm going to crouch down. I'm looking like this to look at people, to interact with them like, hey, Marjorie, yeah, super good. Thanks for clapping your hands. I appreciate that.
And I'm in the back, pointing to the camera, look at the camera.
So down here is Marjorie. So if I want to talk to her, I feel my eyes wanting to make eye contact with her, but instead I have to look at the camera. Hey, Marjorie, thanks for clapping along. I'm going to ask you to think of a playing card. And that feels so much more personal than looking at the screen. So if the screen is right under the camera, if I look underneath the camera, it looks like I'm looking at the camera. So make sure your camera and your screen are as close as possible. But try to look at the camera because that's what's going to feel the most intimate. It's going to feel not as intimate for you, but it's something you'll have to adjust to.
Yeah, I mean, I was constantly look at the, but it's it's something that you're just not used to. I mean, you're so used to looking at people and making eye contact with people that it's weird when the camera lens is off from that.
Now let me ask this or mention this. I don't think you need everybody to have their camera on. What I thought worked really well was we had, like I said, maybe 5 people.
Yeah.
I think it was actually might have been 6 or 7 now I think about it. But we had just a few of the people with their camera on that were kind of the characters of the show. They were the audience members we bounced things off of. If it was everybody, I think the cameras are not as big of a deal as the microphones. Having a row or 2 of people unmuted to participate in the show. Because even with 7 people shouting all at the same time when I ask for things, it's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
But I don't know. It's something we have to play with. I just know that setting the ground that it's going to be interactive is important. I think people are thinking they're going to sit back with popcorn and just chill, but we don't want that.
Right.
At least not for my show. So we talked about just getting somebody to run the Zoom call, running the camera. Not going to spend a lot of time on this, but for people who are just watching this part of the podcast, make sure you have somebody who can move it around for you, zoom in on things. It was a lifesaver to be able to transition because if I get too close, I get out of the light. So
So we have a line on the floor, that you can't cross. You cross it, now he's out of the light that's in here.
With selecting magic to perform, I just thought of things that it's okay if there's a delay. I cut all the jokes that are really time sensitive and time based because missing a beat or 2 can really throw the whole joke off. So I cut a lot of those, put in some new ones. I joked about latency and connection issues. There's something when I ask all of the all the audience members to say something at the same time that's impossible to say.
Yeah.
And I just freeze and go, sorry, there was a connection issue, but I'm sure you all sounded great. There's jokes you could put in that's about the video. We did this cool thing where we took a deck of cards and we tossed it towards the camera and Shane caught it off camera. So it looked like I tossed it through the camera. So somebody can it's just for an invisible deck. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So play with the camera and be creative with what you're performing. But a lot of the time your actual show can be performed so long as you can do it with two hands and you don't need a volunteer.
The other big thing is try not to move. Be cognizant of your frame, right? Try not to move off frame too much, because then it just looks like you're doing, something funny. It looks like, if you go to, vanish the SpongeBall and this hand drops out of frame, or even this hand it just looks bad. So,
Yeah.
make sure and practice. So like, get in front of the computer. If you're using a laptop, just turn on your camera on your laptop and practice the routines and make sure you're staying within the frame. Or if you're using a camera, just turn on the camera and make sure you're just staying within the frame too.
Yeah. Some other things I learned is like saying like, this is not a camera trick. I don't know if that helps, because I did a floating table to almost close out my show as the second to last thing. And, I really said, hey guys, this kills in person, because you can feel and see there's no strings, there's no magnets. You can experience it and see with your own eyes. I want you to know I'm just performing it exactly like I'd perform it live. Everything you see is exactly what you'd see if you come to my show. And I floated it.
Yeah.
The reaction was like, it was good.
Yeah,
it was cool to watch, but it wasn't like a killer. I think things that like work through the screen are like interactive tricks. I did a trick where something was posted to my Instagram before the show and someone thinks of something and it shows up there. Things like that where there's no way I can do that, whether it's live or not. Like, what I mean?
Yeah, it needs to be, we're thinking about for future shows for Chris, and then shows him. If I eventually decide to do this, more stuff that you can do with the audience at home. But this really ends up being like a live TV show, right? Because it's the same kind of thing, man, because you're not able to tell. It's like, I remember when David Blaine floated on his very first special, people were blown away by that.
Sure.
But it's the convincers, right?
Well, one thing with David Blaine is he has people there to be blown away.
I know, that's true. But
so that's something maybe you can do, and I've seen people do this. They'll have their kids kind of in on it, like reacting to things like the audience. That's super cool, because if you have somebody who's reacting like they've never seen it before, well, it prefaces the people to react to. That's why that's why Julius Dean is so popular, because he has all these people reacting, these huge reactions, and it feels like that's the proper response. So that's why I say don't give up if the audience isn't interacting, encourage it. There were times where I would pause for a long time and say, hey guys, it's not like unpolite to clap. In fact, everybody unmute your microphones. Let's give a round of applause to test it. So there's that. Off topic, but important to mention, record your show. Record it on Zoom. If you have another camera, record you doing the show, because right now people don't know what a virtual show looks like. If you can put it in front of them and give an example of what it looks like, you're going to sell them way easier, I think. Yeah.
Here's something else I just thought about. It might be good to call back your client. So like call back the client from the day on Zoom and just basically get a video testimonial from them.
Yeah.
So call, but here's the key to that. It's okay if it just have a written testimonial like, oh, Chris's virtual show is great, but it's even better if you're now on Zoom and can record the Zoom call of both of you talking to each other on screen together and have them say, oh, the virtual show is incredible, really loved it, we're definitely thinking about doing it again. Get the video testimonial.
I need to do that.
So you need to call your client back and do that. Yeah.
So, and as one more thing on the tricks, like the trick selection and performing it, I gave a lot of time for interaction. I asked people to do things that I knew they could do at home, like, selecting things with words. One of the things I wanted to do is they would describe something. So like, which one do you want? The black one, the blue one? You could have people come in on that. Don't harass them with requests to do things. There's a fine line, but I don't know. It's something about just giving it time. Don't giving up. Don't give people time to actually say something and talk. Don't cut them off. Like, it's going to feel awkward a little bit, but people know that it's a virtual call. There's some time delay.
Right.
I just say, don't stray away from the interaction. I had a conversation with a magician friend who's like, man, what are you going to do? Your show's so interactive. I'm like, do the same type of stuff,
Yeah. Think about stuff too that might be more visual. Think about things that you could do straight on the camera that you could never do in your regular show because of angles. Those things will probably play very well as well.
So some takeaways, okay? High quality setup. Get yourself some lights, okay? Shop lights if you need to. Also, just video lights would be ideal. You can get them for fairly cheap. Triple lighting, dampening the light. Okay. High quality camera. Have a high quality camera. Why are you going to be a pro magician not looking high quality on a Zoom call? Like, there goes your credibility. So high quality, okay? The other thing, sound. Make sure you sound good. Take a mixing board, plug it into the computer, or find any way you can to run music through the Zoom call, and you're set. Big takeaways for the show: run with the host a kind of a practice run of the show so that he knows when to go. Oh,
Sorry.
She just dropped his phone. Oh, you just cracked it. Show the camera you just cracked it.
No, it's been cracked.
Dang it! Why'd you? Run through it with the host. Make sure he knows how to mute and unmute. Make sure before the show. Here's another thing I didn't mention before. I don't want to be all present. I don't want to be on the camera, sitting there eating a sandwich with my camera on.
Yeah.
What happened was I was off camera. Okay, I had just a picture of me. When he was introing me, as soon as he was done introing me, my camera went on, my music played, and I walked on the camera. So it's like walking out on stage. If you're there the whole time, the mysticism, the excitement, the value that you feel, like if you're just having free time sitting there watching some dude talk, like you don't come across as big as you want to. So that's another tip. Okay. The other thing is make sure to set ground rules with the people, spend some time, telling them to be on camera, encourage them. And then the last thing would be don't stray from the interactions. Keep the interactions alive. Many of you probably can do, I'm literally not even lying when I say this, you could probably do your exact show that you normally do. Just find, if you need hands or volunteers, just use a cup as a hand. I don't know. Like there's options. Like you're not going to have that person-to-person interaction that you once had, which is the majority of my show. But as far as the tricks go, I don't really need to cut much out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. We could talk about this more. Maybe when we do more of these, we'll do a follow-up.
Yeah, and if you're doing virtual shows, you're booking them, let us know. We're very curious about how are you booking them, who you're booking them to.
Don't book them for so cheap. There are guys who are charging more than the regular show right now, and they're crushing it. You don't want to undervalue it. If somebody can get a virtual show for $50, you're like, oh, I'll do it in my living room. Like, don't.
Yeah, don't.
Don't. Like, you can get real money for these, and you don't want to. You don't want to undercut the market. So
that's it.
Cool. Thanks, guys. I have got to go to the bathroom. So
See ya.